So in the entire IndiGo mess, ladies and gentlemen, we've been asked what is the role of the government, what is the role of the DGCA, what is the role of our parliamentarians, and how did we let this happen? How did we let it come to this? Republic TV this morning accessed a 35-page parliamentary panel report. It's a parliamentary panel on transport, which essentially looked at the overall safety aspect of IndiGo. And when you look at the details of what IndiGo got away with, this particular report specifically had warned the DGCA. We have full details of what this report had asked IndiGo, or rather asked DGCA to do vis-a-vis not just IndiGo but most airlines. In fact, Republic has accessed this 35-page report, and in this particular report, I'm going to get you some more details, ladies and gentlemen. In this report, they talk about how strict FDTL compliance was asked for. DGCA was told they must rigorously monitor and enforce compliance with updated FDTL. And this is the parliamentary panel on the overall review of safety in the civil aviation sector. In August this year, there was a specific report that was prepared, and that report was shared with the DGCA, and DGCA was told not once or twice, they were repeatedly told to ensure that airlines comply. And in fact, in one of the lines, DGCA, in one of the paragraphs, ladies and gentlemen, they were told clearly to ensure that operators do not circumvent these vital safety measures. The committee on transport, which prepared this overall review of safety audit of the aviation sector, told DGCA specifically ensure strict FDTL compliance, and how the DGCA must rigorously monitor, enforce compliance with the updated FDTL regulations for all flight crews, ensuring that operators do not circumvent these vital safety measures. And they went on to say that on the issue of FDTL, it was critical that stress and fatigue does not hamper the role of our pilots. The DGCA civil aviation requirement of the CAR section was mentioned in great detail in this particular report, where the flight duty time limitation or the FDTL was mentioned by the parliamentary panel. They went on to talk about the need for FDTL and why it is critical, the rest is critical, and the duty requirements for pilots need to be kept in mind. And the DGCA was told clearly to ensure proactive regulatory measures to enhance crew well-being. In fact, the report said in paragraph number 3.12.3.1 that the proactive update to FDTL regulations and the issuance of comprehensive mental health guidelines demonstrate DGCA's commitment, blah, 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 to address human safety factors. These measures aim to ensure that pilots and ATCOs operate within safety limits to duty and have access to support for mental well-being, directly impacting their performance. And the next paragraph, extremely critical. It says, implementation of updated FDTL regulations, mental health guidelines signifies a continuous effort to enhance safety. And then the important line, Shawan said, my colleague is live with me right now. Shawan, this one paragraph I think gives it away. It says, ensure strict FDTL compliance, point number one. Point number two, ensure that operators do not circumvent these vital safety measures, which means DGCA was told, ensure people like IndiGo don't circumvent FDTL, which they eventually went on to do anyway.
Well, in fact, Niranjan, almost every pilot association has now written to the Aviation Ministry saying that this is nothing but an engineered crisis. And now with this documentary evidence that has been accessed by Republic TV, which is essentially the Parliament panel document. In fact, this was almost a warning that was sent to DGCA, because somewhere down the line, this was predicted by many within the aviation circles that as far as the implementation of the FDTL norms are concerned, that would not have been complied with, because effectively you are curtailing the operations of an air carrier. Now, interestingly, as far as IndiGo is concerned, it was the worst hit for a number of reasons. First being the crew members. You do not have adequate crew members to fly your Airbuses to begin with. Secondly, with regards to first officers, you do not have enough first officers to begin with. 65% is what you are basically dominating right now in the market, but you do not have corresponding number of crew members to begin with. Secondly, as far as the rostering is concerned of the crew members, it seems that in the month of November itself, when the rostering was essentially done, the DGCA had actually given the nod to the rostering that was already done. Having said that, there was no red flag issued at that point in time, even by the airline or for that matter by the DGCA, saying that this is coming. The very fact that they were unable to get as many number of crew members to fly. Secondly, the night landings were basically curtailed, and when the rest period was increased, it essentially meant that you cannot exhaust the usage of the aircraft to begin with. All of this put together, remember, IndiGo has been the worst hit. But from this particular document, it becomes abundantly clear that in the month of August itself, the Parliamentary Panel Standing Committee members had already warned that there is a possibility that the airlines would actually force it down, ensuring that their profit still remains. Because at the end of the day, unless you increase your number of crew members, you cannot perhaps continue with the operations that you have essentially wanted all this while. And that becomes very clear from this particular document.
Shravan, I want you to be with me because I think Captain Randhawa is also joining us live, and this is exactly what they've been saying, Shravan. They've been warning about this. I remember talking about it when it happened Wednesday, sir. We were talking about it, FDTL compliance. In fact, on Wednesday, even before, things went down on Thursday and finally on Friday the way it did, we knew this was coming. They knew what was happening exactly, but they sat on it. Eventually, it came down to it. They buckled, they bent. But this was it, sir. They knew about it. This was the breaking point. This is exactly what they had to do, but did not. Only thing they had to do, but they did not.
I absolutely agree with you, Niranjan and Shravan. We've been talking about it on the Republic TV and all the other channels. From day one, I have been propagating one principle, that this is actually a showdown by IndiGo Airlines, which was pre-planned. This integration of the software between the network planning and the optimum utilization of the crew due to increased winter schedule and change in the FDTL rules which were implemented on the 1st of November. So everything was getting integrated into the system. Now the agony is IndiGo knowingly about this software update taking place and integrating the software. From 2nd December, they neither disseminated this information to the DGCA nor to the passengers. And with the result, they enforced a total crisis in the country in the air travel, because they hold 67% of the domestic traffic. Now, the point of concern is that why did, when they had a shortage of crews, why did the DGCA actually approve of the winter schedule with increased flights of almost 150 flights a day? And when the Honorable Minister has given a clean sheet of not adhering to the FDTL, that day also at 3 o'clock in the meeting on Friday, we had stressed upon that please do not dilute any safety norms of the FDTL, because that is not the cause. By evening after the meeting, the Honorable Minister had given the waiver to IndiGo Airlines. Now you in a country, you have two different rules, regulations for two different people. The bulk of the airlines are following the system and they're following the regulations religiously. They have had their manpower, everything. And here, this airline is getting away. Now, I would come to some more data on this. First and foremost thing, as you rightly said, this Parliamentary Committee came out with this requirement. Now, let me tell you that before the implementation of the CAR, when we had approached the High Court in Delhi, the High Court had asked that because we were insisting that it should be implemented immediately. Then all these airlines got together. They had the meeting. The stakeholders had a meeting with DGCA, and two dates were decided. First, 65%, that is with 15 clauses to be implemented, and the 7 clauses balance to be implemented on 1st of November. All the airlines decided. Now, nothing happens till 1st of November. Nothing happens, in fact, till 1st of December. And after 2nd December, you know what fun and games happened in this country. So that is point number one. The second point is that the shortfall in the number of pilots is 65, 70 captain short and 70, 80 first officer short. IndiGo has saved almost 1,200, 1,500 crores if you take the yearly salary by not recruiting them. And they knew it very well that they have to do it 2 years in advance. They know very well that a non-type-rated pilot takes 6 months to be trained. And where are the availability of the type-rated pilots in the country? When one pilot has to leave from one airline, he has to serve a 6 months notice period. So all these things, IndiGo was fully aware. Only thing they believe in, might is right, because they hold 67% of the stake in the country. So they feel that might is right, and we will be able, the government will do as we tell them. That is the sad part of the story, and for which the poor passengers, the citizens of the country had to pay so heavily, which is really painstaking.
In fact, I have a report, the full report here with me. It's a 35-page report, and I'll try and see if I can get Shravan again. Now, in the report, if you go through the details, the fine print of it, right? Sir, when you go through the details, you know, it begins with, first of all, it's a safety audit report, aviation safety audit report. Now, what I see here is the entire report talks about the critical vulnerabilities in India's aviation sector. And they focused mainly on the DGCA. Now, reading the tone of it, and they're all sitting parliamentary members from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, right? Parliamentary panel, there are at least 30 MPs, if I'm not wrong. And when I go through the fine print of this report, I'll share it with you as well. It's a 35-page report. One of the key aspects of this 31 members, I'm just seeing all their names here, 31 members, a large portion of this report talks about how civil aviation, the DGCA itself is ill-equipped. 1,053 odd roles open, that is what they require. You have a situation where Indian aviation is ordering, our airlines are ordering 1,000, 1,200 flights extra. They've put orders for that many flights, but you don't have enough regulators. 1,000 odd regulators are required, but the manpower is only about 500 is what I'm told from this report, right? Which means your DGCA, which on the back of the Ahmedabad crash, on the back of all of these incidents, right? And several airlines are struggling. On the back of this burgeoning sector, if you have only half the strength, half the number of regulators working, it's a pathetic situation. It's not like the government did not know. Mr. Randhawa?
Niranjan, you hit the nail on the head because I've been a part of DGCA earlier for a long time, and these red flags have been already, they've been put up by ICAO and FA. The number of inspectors to carry out the oversight. Now, nevertheless, DGCA is, it's a cat and mouse game because it's just continuing that they are not able to catch up with the number of aircraft coming in the country. The aviation is expanded so much. You have to understand that the number of aircraft coming now in the next 5 years, it is going to be a chaotic situation. If you consider 1,700 more aircraft coming, and with the kind of strength which we have in DGCA, and the experience is also lacking in DGCA. That's the next point I would like to tell you. The knowledge, the experience levels of the inspectors, it is far less than as compared to what it was there in earlier times. So there is a need to have numbers And there is a need to have people with experience and with knowledge. You just can't recruit people and, numbers are there. But at the same time, what is important is the experience and the knowledge also. And the oversight is mandatory, because if you see in our country, this oversight, what you can carry out in the West, more oversight is required over here, because the slightest of the thing, the operators, they will take a chance to take a shortcut. And in aviation, there is no shortcut. Absolutely. Because a shortcut will lead to an incident or an accident. So I believe that the manpower has to be made good, and you have to put a check against each aircraft which it arrives in India, to check that the infrastructure, the parking, the aerodromes availability, the manpower availability, the air controllers. There's a problem with the air controllers. They are saturated. The next problem you're going to have with the number of air controllers. Then similarly, pilots. Now for 1700 aircraft is a bizarre figure of the pilots which have to be trained in this country. We just talk about, okay, 1700 aircraft are coming, ordered, they are going to come. They should not be allowed to come till the time you have everything ready. The airlines must show the readiness platform. That has to be ratified. You just can't do it. The schedules, there is a procedure in place in DGCA, and there's a director who is involved. 3 months in advance, the schedules are sent to DGCA, and those schedules have to be checked, cross-checked against the number of aircraft, number of air crew, the slots availability, the manpower, the parking, everything has to be checked, and then only the schedule cleared. I don't know how DGCA cleared the winter schedule of IndiGo when they were already running short of air crew. And the minister has given a clean sheet of waiver of the FDTL CR to IndiGo without cancelling the extra slots which have routes which have been given to them. Okay. That should have been cancelled first. The aircraft are still on the ground, Niranjan. The crew are there, but the flights are still getting cancelled.
Yeah.
What a shame. What a shame. We have become a laughing stock in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Sir, I'll tell you, I think the second part of what you mentioned of, who cleared these rosters, it happened from the DGCA, right? So that's another angle that we're looking at very closely. And I think we'll have something more on that in just a short while from now. Because
Narijan, I want to just add one more thing.
Okay. Quickly, sir.
The high-level committee, made to investigate. This is a national crisis that has happened. 4 officers have been put, and one person was the extra slot for IndiGo in the winter schedule. He's one of them.
Who?
Investigation.
Sorry, who? Who's?
Out of these 4, one gentleman is the person who's involved in, who used to approve. I don't know presently if he was approving, because he was the person.
No, that's a very big point to me. You're alleging. Let me just take it slow. You're saying one of the persons who approved the slots for IndiGo, or used to, or has approved slots, is now also investigating this entire crisis.
He is one of them.
My God.
So I have written an email yesterday to the Honorable Minister, and I marked the copy to the Secretary Civil Aviation, that you need to reconstitute the serving senior High Court or a Supreme Court judge or a very senior bureaucrat, and a couple of bureaucrats with them, and you can have SMEs from DGCA.
So that means this is going to be a cover-up.
Yes, it is going to be a cover-up.
It's going to be a cover-up.
A JDG level from DGCA. He's the chairman.
My God.
What nonsense. You got to have people from the industry, the SMEs. You got to have people from the public who have been harassed. Some of the people should be involved into this process to get the total transparency. It's a joke.
Yeah. So it's a very strong point and it's a valid point, and I think that's going to be another big story that we will bring to our viewers in some time from now, because we are doing independent reporting on it. I'd like to thank you at this point of time,